kick it off. I'm gonna approach some dark leafy greens and give you a simple recipe that you can add to breakfast. We love to steam greens and drop some eggs on top of it. You can just do it for a side dish for your dinner. So we're gonna hit the kitchen, cook a few greens. All right, here we go. Hello everyone. I want to thank you for all of the well-wishing and blessings for my new website. I really appreciate all of the kudos. It means a lot. It makes me think about the why behind all of this. Like, why am I doing this? You know, and really it stems from years of teaching and being connected to your food and how it makes you feel. The stronger we are, the stronger our body is, the better it can fight infection and disease. And the better we feel, which is really what it all comes down to, is, you know, we want full lives with high energy and well-being. How difficult it really is to turn the beat around. You know, we get stuck in our ways, we get used to doing certain things, and creating change can be really challenging. So we have to tap into what I call our will. You know, if there's a will, there's a way. I'm from a large family, actually the O'Leary clan of Portsmouth. My grandparents immigrated in the early 1900s and had 10 children. My father was one of them, next to the youngest. And out of that, I have over 60 first cousins. So I have this beautiful family that I've celebrated life with. But we're a very determined lot, we're a very active lot. And I think really a lot of what it comes from is my grandmother's voice that has guided our family. And she was a very tough Irish immigrant. One thing that has carried through the decades is my grandmother used to say, some people say, where there's a will, there's a way. But I say, where there's a will, there's 6 ways. Well, I thought about that and I decided to even up the ante, and I say, where there's a will, there's infinite ways. So if you have a will to make change, then you really can tap into hundreds of different things that you could do, subtle little things that you could do each day. So tapping into your will help you find your way. And there is no one way. What works for me might not work for you. So I encourage you to think about your life and changes that you know that you should make, and make small, simple changes and let those settle in, and then make another change. Because really, it's the quality of your life that we're talking about. We're in the spring season, and I believe in following nature's lead. So we are going to mimic nature by what we talked about in the first video, increasing our hydration, adding greens, vibrant, rich foods that will help us cleanse and detoxify. All right, here we go. Welcome in the kitchen. I'd like to show you how I prepare simple green sauté today. I'm going to get my pan heated up here. So whenever I'm cooking, I preheat my pan before I do anything. I want my cast iron to give me a sizzle when I add my oil and then in turn add my onions. I want it to be active. I don't want to put my food into a cold pan and have it sit and for me to have to wait to bring it up to temp. So I'm going to just give this a minute to come up to heat. There, as I get my oil warming. Got a little hot oil here, and I'm going to begin with my onions and save that garlic for once my onions have started to cook a little and become a little clear. I am adding a good teaspoon of smoked paprika. And that oil is going to open up the herb and let it infuse into the oil. What I do is I add salt at this point onto just my onions. I like to open them up. The salt draws out the bitterness of the onion, and let's see, just a nice saute. I'm just gonna let that simmer slowly and just do a quick chop on my board for my greens. I'm gonna hold my garlic on the corner of my board because I don't want to overcook the garlic. I like it to be kind of cooked gently and kind of allowed to stay sweet instead of cooking into a crispy, dark garlic. First thing that we do is there's this long rib in the back of the kale. You just want to strip it. Oh, that didn't break good. See, you want to strip that center stem out. And actually, what I say is if it's tender enough to break, it's tender enough to eat. So some of these are very small stemmed, but if I get into the bigger ones, you just want to rip the greens away from its stem. It off with just a little fresh parsley. And again, that same rule as I pull it, it's tender enough to break. That's what I put in the chop pile. I'm just gonna, ahead of chopping my greens, I'm gonna take my 1 clove of garlic that I've minced up and just add it to my onion saute, just to give it a minute cook time. I've turned that down just a little bit while I chop my herbs. So I have lacinato kale, curly kale, little baby spinach, and some parsley here, and I'm gonna give this all a good chop. The aroma of that smoked paprika is really beautiful with the onion and garlic. I'm gonna add it, chopped up all my greens to about a 1/2 inch chop, I'd say. I'm just gonna add them to my onions. This takes all of 2 minutes. It's usually, I'll save those onions if I'm cooking dinner and just set them to the side, and a few minutes before we eat, I throw the greens in and finish off this dish. Right. So my greens are cooking nicely, just I'd say a 3-minute saute. One thing that greens love as a finishing is acid. And sometimes I'll just add tomato because it gives it just enough acid to play off the bitter green. But if you don't have any tomato, and we're not in tomato season, you can add just a simple splash of apple cider vinegar. You want it a little milder in the acid world, a little balsamic, just topped right now. But what I'm going to use is good old lemon. I'm just going to give it a little squirt of lemon. It's final tasting, flavoring, and that's it. Beautiful, green, vibrant. Look how it shrinks down. And really, probably could have done half an onion, but this is what I would call 3 or 4 servings. So one way to make this green base a full meal is, you're an egg eater, is the simple addition of a couple fried eggs. And if you haven't had eggs and greens, green eggs and ham, you know what you're missing here. The lid on this, I'm going to put a lid on it for just a couple minutes. Turn the heat down just a little and let the heat of this cast iron pan cook these eggs. And there you have it. A beautiful, complete meal, eggs over greens, a great way to start the day and get your greens.